Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Kingdom Hearts 2 with more Mushroom XIII, and please avoid looking at these characters I'm gonna have to edit out, because I forgot I was recording from a point after certain plot events. Avoid him. Don't look at him, children. Avert your gaze, but yeah, onto more gameplay matters. Yeah, this is Mushroom XIII number 1, which is meant to mirror Xemnas. You gotta score a ton of different hits on him, which I think in this case you're only really gonna do either with Wisdom Form or using Ars Arcanum / Ragnarok to get plenty of hits on him. Well, editing this character out is gonna be a nightmare. Don't look at him, children. He may look familiar, but he's nothing. Yeah, in addition I also apologize for the mood whiplash of seeing A-Hat96's face all over the shop, but yeah, getting rid of the last of Mushroom XIII, which I believe is it. Again, in order to get some of the Mushroom XIII, at least at this point, you will have to complete specific plot points, you know, in advance, and I believe this is the only one where I actually complete the threshold successfully, so yeah, I get all the goodies this time. Yes, keep them coming, baby. Bling. But yeah, anyway, pretty much only 3 more Mushroom XIII thingies to go, but first, a little bit of synthesis. Because, yes, it is now time to synthesize the ultimate weapon, so let's hand over our materials, go into things we can forge. Oh look, 13 Orichalcum pluses that we don't have, but wait! Use the energy crystal? Oh, it now becomes 7. 7 and 13. Tetsuya Nomura's favorite lucky numbers, and now we have power beyond our imagination. The ultimate weapon in Kingdom Hearts 2, a lot easier to forge in this game, at least with the final mix, and yeah, again, well, okay, I'll talk about the ultimate weapon a little bit later, but in the meantime, yes. If you complete all the other Mushroom XIII things, you will see more, again, Mushroom XIII, nobody's bouncing about here. And I believe Mushroom XIII, being based on Roxas being the most friendly, it will pretty much grant you a Keyblade as well as a gold crown. Not that we're really in need of such an item, because again, if you'll see on Sora's head, after we have fulfilled events yet to be seen, Sora seems to have a crown on his head, made of bronze, to represent a brown Keyblade wielder of times long past. But yeah, this is pretty much just me wanting to show off the crown, and pretty much what you get as a reward for Mushroom XIII, which is a Mushroom XIII Keyblade. Again, I can't be asked to fulfill all the side quests to the ultimate extent, so fuck it, this is all you get. But now we have to go back to the Colosseum. Why, you might ask? Well, because at this point in the game, and I believe this is to say after you complete certain events, yeah, we now have the Goddesses of Fate, Goddess? Yeah, the Goddess of Fate Cup. Basically, no holds barred, knock 'em boppers, where you're basically just killing enemies again. So again, if you were sitting here thinking that this was the end of the Colosseum bouts, well, you're wrong, because this is also how we unlock the Underworld's Keyblade. I mean, again, we already got the Hero's side with the, you know, the Olympia Keyblade, but this, was it called the Olympia? Or was it called the Hero's Crest in Kingdom Hearts 2? Whatever, basically we unlock the Underworld Keyblade, which is, the Dragon's Head? Or Dragon's Crest, I think? Fuck it, I can't really be specific, but it's basically a dragon-themed Keyblade, which I guess is meant to represent, you know, Hades in the Underworld. I don't know, looks decent as a Keyblade, but can't really say anything more on that. But, anyway... yeah, these are some of the shields that I got for Goofy over the course of the adventure. Of course, we do have Save the King, which is one that I wanted to show off, and also to prove that, again, we have the Save the Queen, Save the King. Which I suppose, in terms of anything else, are meant to be Donald and Goofy's ultimate weapons, although, delving back into a bit of Kingdom Hearts 2 trivia, I do believe that they initially were gonna have, like, again, their own game-specific ultimate weapons that weren't Save the King, Save the Queen. Which, again, is interesting, but they were dummied out with, like, some very untextured models for them, so... yeah, I guess just a remnant of the cutting room floor. I suppose in a similar vein to the ultimate weapon, it probably would have been balanced around all stats rather than, you know, completely dominating in either offensive capabilities or magic. But, yeah, it's curious. I mean, I would have been interested to see... well, I mean, again, the game already does sort of provide Keyblades that are better for magic and defense over, you know, specific offensive capabilities, but I don't know. It would have been cool to have seen Donald and Goofy get their own game-breaking weapons, but them's the breaks, I suppose. But yeah, apart from that, that's, well, I mean, the rest of this part is pretty much just going to be arena combat, which you've pretty much already seen before, so... Yeah, get comfortable everybody, because we're in for a bit of a snooze fest. Because, I mean, fun as the combat is, it's something we've got to sustain. Because, I mean, it's not just the Goddess of Fate, we also have a certain other bouts that we'll have to defeat a little bit later on, but you didn't hear that from me, because you heard it from Hades. So yeah, fucking I might as well explain it. Yeah, again, we already have, you know, the rounds and bouts from Pain and Panic, but Hades also has its own specific arena challenges, where you basically go off and visit Hades' chamber along the similar story path we followed in the main game. It's just that you go off and talk to him, go into similar rounds of this, except it takes place in, like, the fucking void dimension. And, yeah, you don't really get anything for it, you just get journal completion. Which, again, to me, is probably one of the biggest examples of padding the content thin, because, again, unlike, you know, doing the Underdrome Colosseum bouts here, you at least get a Keyblade out of it, but, again, when you do the Hades version, it's just sort of like, do it for journal completion. Which, again, I think is a bit disappointing. Again, I think they could have spiced it up either by maybe, I don't know, like, either having, like, copies of, you know, again, like, kind of in a similar way, like, maybe have, like, dummy versions of, like, you know, Auron or whatever, or some Final Fantasy characters for us to fight. But again, they don't do that, and sadly, even though they do have the weapon movesets for characters like, you know, Cloud, Tifa, or anybody else, again, they don't use them as a means of having Sora fight them. Which is admittedly a bit of a shame, because, I mean, you already have the characters there, and again, you could just use the excuse of, I don't know, they're illusions or clones or whatever, so, again, it wouldn't have broken the logic too badly, or, again, to use a story thing, again, you could have had them be like this sort of, like, totem thing, in a similar vein to how Hades controlled, Auron. Because, I mean, again, the Kingdom Hearts version of the Hercules movie plot is that, again, Hades is trying to find, you know, Final Fantasy characters and Keyblade wielders, again, to keep under his control and eventually use them in his plot to overthrow the gods, as was the plot in the movie. Yeah, but yeah, sadly, it's, again, can't be used for a gameplay purpose. And again, for those of you wondering if, like, the Kingdom Hearts series ever would eventually adapt the Hercules story in, you know, proper fashion of the movie, Kingdom Hearts 3 does eventually reconcile this, with, Hades eventually just going, look, you know what, fuck it, I use Keyblade people and fucking Final Fantasy bullshit a lot of the time and it didn't fucking work, so you know what, piss off Maleficent, I'm going to stick with my original plan of using the Titans. It does actually kind of remind me though, actually, like, I mean, in terms of introductory stages, I'd say that Kingdom Hearts 3 is high up there as, one of my absolute favourites, because, again, you actually get to explore Thebes for one thing, and, woohoo, the siege on the city when everything's getting destroyed during the Hercules movie is, well, again, it makes for a hell of an exciting opening. Ooh, semi-final match. Then we're just continuing to beat up the bad guys. How exciting. Not really too much to say, although I guess it is time to dive back into the recesses of trivia in terms of anything else. Well, for one thing, actually how the car's headlights make sense, but that's not what I was going to talk about. What I was going to talk about for one thing is, well, first of all, fighting Hades again. But secondly was also the dummied out Destiny Island's secondary island. Again, basically the island where you saw the cutscene of Kyrie and Selphie, you know, where all the kids apparently live as opposed to the Play Island. Yeah, apparently in a similar vein to places like Castle Oblivion or, you know, Roxas' Room, yeah, that place is not only fully modeled, albeit very low definition, but it also has coding. Meaning that, again, if you were to plop Sora onto that island, he could actually run around and interact with cardboard buildings. Or, I suppose, if not the cardboard buildings off in the distance, then at the very least the textured buildings that were the, you know, that you could briefly see as both Kyrie and Selphie. I don't know, like, I mean, and I'm still trying to think about it, actually, because not a lot of the games really tend to use Destiny Islands all that much. Like, I mean, even when they include them, you know, in a world, in a similar vein to Birth by Sleep, it isn't technically a place where you can run around and explore. It's purely just a cutscene island. And again, same thing goes for Kingdom Hearts 3. You go back to Destiny Islands in that game, but the only way you're going to be visiting that island and walking around is for data grading, which is basically this, like, half machinima, half fucking Gmod sort of pose everybody for a photograph kind of thing. And it's, kind of a wee bit pish. And even then, like, it doesn't go as far as you'd think it would, because it's, again, it restricts certain characters to certain worlds. So again, you couldn't have Hercules bopping about fucking the Dark Shores, or, you know, the world that never was, or whatever, so, yeah, what the fuck? Anyway, this is the Hades, challenge Underdrome thing that I was talking about earlier. It's the Extreme Edition, where you're basically doing the exact same stuff, but in a dimensional void, and you get fuck all for it. Well, still, at the very least we do get to utilize a newly acquired Keyblade, so, again, for those of you who wanted to see this dragon bad boy in action, here we go. But yeah, there's really nothing special about this, apart from the trippy background and the fact that, well, I'm pretty much just trying to showcase all of the moves, summons, and abilities, at least in a comfortable fashion, so you at least get to see the combat on full display here. Again, no move gets left out, and we do our best to diversify our combat. Which, I mean, again, and if there is one thing I can say about this commentary and what it's taught me about Kingdom Hearts 2's combat system is that, again, a lot of these moves I was mainly just showing off for the sake of, you know, it's a commentary, so I might as well give the game its fair dues and at least show people what they can do, but again, after experimenting with it by proxy of the playthrough, I have, again, I'm interested to kind of approach my next I'm interested in approaching my next Kingdom Hearts 2 playthrough with a more varied moveset. Like, maybe next time I might focus more on some magical abilities in terms of a playthrough. I don't know, it's, again, it's really made me rethink my approach on how I might approach Kingdom Hearts 2 next time. I mean, again, I was very much a sort of hack and slash kind of guy, just sort of going at it, you know, with all the Keyblade moves, bopping about and all that. And again, you can still do that and have a lot of fun, but I don't know, it's cool when you get to utilize a lot of your magical abilities, and, again, like, I mean, if you know specific enemies' weaknesses, again, you can make combat a lot more fun, slick and silky, and again, it just sort of goes back to what I was talking about much earlier on in the commentary. Again, like, I mean, it's easy to pick up and play, and again, you might mistake it for being easy if you view this as purely, you know, like a low skill ceiling kind of thing, but at the same time, with low skill ceilings also comes mastery of the mechanics, and again, if you can pull those off succinctly, you know, without getting hit or without stumbling with through a combo or, you know, having pauses in between your moves, well, I mean, again, it's kind of like a dance and that sort of thing. Again, you want to be nice and graceful and slick, but at the same time, you don't want to have any awkward pauses or gawky, you know, dorky disco dance moves. There was a metaphor here. It's gone now. But the point is that, I don't know, combat is fun and tertiary as it is, and again, I do still think that the Hades versions should have at least had a reward, or if not, at least a few different fights from the Final Fantasy characters to at least give it something. I don't know, the combat itself is its own reward in my eyes. How much time of the video have we got left? 26 minutes, and I'm only 13 minutes of the way through. Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we? Yes, aren't we, darling? So, anyway, I suppose another reason why, I guess maybe Hades doesn't at least have you fight Final Fantasy characters or characters from other worlds is, I suppose, maybe a logistics thing. I mean, again, he is the Lord of the Dead for the Disney universe, so who knows how many souls are swimming around in his pool of the damned. Since, I mean, again, and something I think I might have mentioned in the Little Mermaid segment of the game, I might not have, but yeah, Disney does like to reference its other properties within different movies, so depending on how you want to play things, Kingdom Hearts, again, like, I mean, again, it might be a very fantastical concept of visiting other worlds, but I mean, it's not entirely out of left field. I mean, Monsters Inc. in and of itself, I think, had a cameo from Bug's Life, and, you know, Pizza Planet referencing Toy Story and a bunch of other stuff, but, again, you never know. It very much could be a case of, you know, Hades could pull these souls from different Disney worlds. And I mean, even in that case, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep actually did have a bit of a fix to this, I think, with the Mirage Arena. And again, basically what the Mirage Arena was, again, it was an arena mode similar to, you know, what you were facing all throughout here, but again, I feel like you possibly could have had, like, well, again, fitting with the name, Mirage Arena, you could have had mirages of Final Fantasy characters, that you could fight, or again, pulling from Disney worlds, having, you know, different Disney characters accompany you throughout combat. And again, just, you know, varying your approaches and having, you know, either your preferred limit breaks from specific Disney characters, or a bunch of other different, you know, ways of attacking your enemies that could make combat still feel interesting, despite obviously trying to pad out, you know, some of the content and at least give you some sweet rewards for doing so. So, I mean, again, like, I mean, a lot of people might complain about, you know, arena combat modes being very tertiary and just sort of try not to break the budget by stretching the content very thin, but at the same time, with a game mode that allows you to make your own fun, again, your limits are only really your imagination, and again, if you give people the creative tools to be creative in combat, then, you know, you have a game mode that'll still provide a lot of fun for people with plenty of customization options, and, I don't know, allow them to enjoy what you already have in the base game, just utilizing it in a very different and unique way. There we go. That only lasted 2 minutes. That tangent lasted like fucking 10 minutes in my mind. Ugh, I hate my fucking motor mouth. Well, I mean, at the very least, I will get to show off more of Final Form, which again is sick, silky, sick as fuck, and is rather enjoyable. So, whoopee. Yeah, shit, what else can I talk about? Well, I suppose one thing I can apologize for is, yeah, and admittedly a bit of a tragic note, but, yeah, I recently had a death in the family. So, yeah, again, I was drinking a fair bit heavily the night before when, you know, I got news of his passing, but, yeah, that kind of bled over into a commentary, which, again, I was more or less using as a means to sort of, well, again, sort of distract myself from grief and, you know, in turn just, you know, take my mind off, you know, unfortunate events as, you know, we get stuff like, you know, funeral dates and stuff like that sorted out. So again, I do apologize primarily if the commentary suffered that, because, again, real life shit, you don't really fucking care. But, you know, likewise, it's, you know, I had my reasons, and again, I wouldn't be, you know, going fucking completely, you know, sorry my words and getting pissed, you know, if I didn't have a good reason. So, yeah. Anyway, tragedy over with. And I might edit that out at some point later, because it's, ooh, delving a bit too close to me heart. Me old, rotting, frail heart that Xehanort wants for Kingdom Hearts. Take that, spirit orbs. No spirit claiming for Sora. Yeah, I mean, just look at it, man. I mean, this is part of the reason why I waited till the end of the game to do this stuff, rather than intertwining it into the main playthrough, because again, now that we're all powered up and ready to roll, we can again cleave through these enemies like a knife through warm butter, which is, bellissimo! But at the same time, it's, well, again, a lot of the side content, and again, I have sort of worried about this in and of itself, in the sense that, again, it probably does seem a bit boring to a lot of, you know, regular viewers, because again, it's basically just fighting with some fuckwit rambling on. But again, to be perfectly honest, I'm not really too sure what intertwining this with the main story really would have been like. I mean, I could have done it, you know, in the similar sort of episodic fashion that the game expects of you, but at the same time, though, we would have had, okay, let's go to our next Disney World and face off against the next Organization 13 member, but first let's fight a bunch of, Heartless. And, I mean, again, I don't know whether I would have had more or less to talk about, you know, before or after. I guess maybe I could have expanded upon individual tangents in the worlds, but even then, it wouldn't have really been relevant to what was going on, which, I mean, even in that case, is still fighting Heartless, you know, obviously, but I don't know. Damned if I do, damned if I don't, and if I don't do, then I'm damned, and if I damn do, then I am double damned. In which case I need to do a physical challenge, to damn myself in Dante's 11th level of hell. Which, of course, is a bad Devil May Cry game. Yeah, I mean, I think the only real difference, apart from, like, the time threshold and maybe giving the bosses a bit more health, is really all that changes in this mode, but apart from that, that's really not much. And I mean, again, I'm just saying, include, like, I don't know, like Cloud, Tifa. I mean, if you really want to stretch the content, maybe, like, an Aerith or Sid boss fight. Or maybe keep them, like, in a sort of tertiary role, akin to what, you know, what Yuffie does in order to heal Squall whenever he's in battle with her, so I don't know. You could do something, and again, you do still have the moveset, and hell, considering that we fought Sephiroth, like, who knows really? Well, then again, I suppose the status of Superboss might keep him from being playable in the Colosseum thing, as akin to what he was in Kingdom Hearts 1, where his appearance was meant to be more of a surprise. I don't know, really. Actually, now that I think about it, the more I'm kind of wondering if, like, they maybe could have had a few more Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy Super Boss surprises. Like, I mean, again, we had Roth in 1. I don't know, like, I mean, again, I was gonna say Gilgamesh or something like that, but then I remember the fact that, yeah, Tetsuya Nomura, I don't think he designed... Did he design Gilgamesh? Because he was a monster designer for Final Fantasy 4 and 5, I believe, so... I wonder... Again, I'm pretty sure it was Yoshitaka Romano who designed Gilgamesh, but... yeah, I don't know. Although at the same time, though, if I can talk about that, that does kind of make me feel a little bit at odds, because again, Nomura did state that he wouldn't alter the designs that Yoshitaka Romano had, you know, initially designed for Kingdom Hearts, and that was fair. But the thing of it is that Nomura actually did wind up designing his version of, you know, the pre-Final Fantasy VI, 7 characters. I think it was for Dissidia. So again, he redesigned those variants for, you know, that specific game, so... I'm starting to wonder why not use his designs as opposed to Amano's if he does respect the artwork. Because, I mean, I believe that the individual... Because again, if it comes to purely character design, then why not use his versions, or... Even in that case, like, I mean, if it was, you know, an issue with, respecting somebody's work... fuck it. You know what, I really don't know. Tangent abandoned. Yes, but it seems we've now gotten so far that we can start fighting the nobodies. Oh, and that also reminds me, I still need to get the secret answer reports done. I'm actually quite curious, though. I mean, I am a little bit confident with my Christopher Lee voice. Because again, something I was initially going to do for the Kingdom Hearts 1 answer reports when I did that video, initially I was going to do a bit of a dramatic reading of them, you know, with my voice and everything. I kind of stopped because I couldn't really do, like, a very good Billy Zane impression. The Christopher Lee voice, on the other hand, I'm tempted to do so, but I don't think my impression is really good enough in terms of, like, emotional inflection. At the very least, akin to some of the performances that the man made in both this game and his, well, previous work, so... I think I might go for more of the atmospheric soundtrack kind of thing that I did for Kingdom Hearts 1 when I'm doing it, because... And again, I don't know if this is just me in regards to the answer reports themselves, but... I don't know, like, I mean, reading them in the game versus, you know, kind of propping it up with, you know, a bit more dramatic music or visual spice to sort of set the mood. I don't know, I feel like it kind of puts these reports in a very different light, which, again, I will say that while the, you know, Ansem, Xehanort, fucking whatever reports aren't necessarily required reading, they do provide a lot of the context that I believe is where people begin to get lost when it comes to some of the more deep imaginations of people's thoughts on the Kingdom Hearts series. I don't know, it's an issue that I'll get into a little bit deeper when we get to Birth by Sleep, where it really begins to hit the nail on the head, but... Whew, it's a bit of a spicy meatball. Come on, we need to do the end. I like that limber break. Yes! Yes! Victory! But anyway, yes, this is the Nobody Power Hour with, nobodies. Although it's kind of interesting, though, because in terms of the nobodies that we don't see, yeah, all the deceased, nobodies, you know, such as Zexion, Loxine, Marluxia... Well, actually, no, I tell a lie, we do technically get to see Marluxia's, and Marluxia and Loxine's nobodies in Kingdom Hearts 3. The only ones but I don't think we ever actually get to see in the franchise is Vexen's and, Zexion's. Which again does make me wonder what they would have been like. I guess... I guess maybe Vexen's obviously would have been Iceland, but Zexion's... I'm curious, I guess maybe if we are to follow, you know, Final Fantasy tropes, I might have been like, Alchemist or something? I mean, I'm not really too sure. It would have been interesting to see them, but, yeah, as of recent events, yeah, Zexion ain't coming back. As are the nobodies not coming back either. There we go. Sora and Stitch, truly the greatest duo that ever lived. Oh my goodness. Oh, not too long now. We're almost finished. I nearly rambled my way to victory. Sweet, merciful Jesus. Lightning shall lead us to despair. Yeah, and our final round is against Hercules, who, why he's entering into these games a second time? Who knows, but then again, I suppose, as I was mentioning earlier, this might have been my idea of Hades creating illusions? Well, I mean, I don't know, whatever. I'm just stalling for time, really. He has more... Oh, excuse me. He has more health, and I don't think he has the stipulation of the barrel gimmick that we first saw in Kingdom Hearts 1, so... No, there is no gift of a shirt that Hercules got that was put in a barrel and then made his skin and bits of flesh rip off. But no, instead he's gonna get his ass peppered with a switchblade by Peter Pan. And again, I suppose if I could just talk a little bit more about Peter Pan's summon, yeah, very useful, saved my ass for a certain super boss we're gonna be seeing a little bit later on. And indeed, it is actually quite useful for another ability, the fact that it also drops HP orbs, which, yeah, when some of your commands get locked up, well, it's pretty much the difference maker between life and death. But yeah, you'll notice even though he glows golden to represent his godhood, yeah, that's more so Hercules charging up a punch and or that little, like, god shield explosion thing. Oh yep, Chicken Little, truly the best person to have in a fight against a fucking demigod. Oh dear. Zach Braff. Was it Braff Zach? No, it was Zach Braff, I think. This is your one roll in Kingdom Hearts, and, whatever. Yo dear, I'm nearly going to die! But yeah, this is pretty much the end of it, so on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, I stumble my way to victory, and next time, something slightly more interesting. Catch you next time.